Hi, this is Jaime Henderson. I'm a architect and amateur renderer, and I wanted to share some techniques that I've learned over the years of how to take an ordinary rendering or sort of an average rendering and giving it a little bump. And I want to quick show you. This is the original rendering that I had to work with, and with some different layering techniques that I'm going to show you, I was able to take this rendering and turn it into this. So I'll kind of start. I'm going to show you literally the layers of Photoshop. It's not necessarily a workflow in terms of a timeline of how it works. It's just literally the layers of Photoshop in order. But at least it gives you an idea of how I created the image. So starting from the base image, I did a little base work on the image just to take it to a little bit darker level, kind of a starting point that I wanted to work with. So getting a little bit more contrast. And one of the things that I noticed about the images is I wanted to lead your eye toward the entry of the pavilion in this rendering. And so I found this image online. It's an image of Grasscrete, and I'll kind of show you real quick. The original, this is on color dodge. You can see up here. I'll put it on normal. This is the image as it came off the internet, and by putting it on color dodge here, it kind of gives it a nice blend. And literally these settings, you just got to play with them. I mean, it's different for every image you use, and sometimes you just got to mess around back and forth. And I really liked how the kind of S curve here, or the curve of the Grasscrete, kind of led your eye in this direction, kind of indicative of a path. And so you can see here, and one of the things you got to be careful about when you bring in images, you want to match the overall color of the rendering. So the first thing I do is a color balance, non-destructive color balance on just that image of the Grasscrete. You can see the little arrow indicates that it's only affecting this layer. So that was the first thing. And then, there's the kind of a pop glow of the building, and all this is just an orange paintbrush. Again, here, this one is set on linear light with the opacity of 7, so I would just take this back to normal. You can see what it does, and it clearly, just on a normal layer, it's not going to look right. So the linear light allows the light behind it to kind of show through, and it gives just that right quality. Then, kind of blending some grass on the right here, added this image off the internet again. This grass, again, on color dodge, I'll take it back to normal. That's the normal. And just by doing a color dodge only, I was able to kind of just get that little blend. And what that allows it to do is it allows the glow of the original rendering to kind of show through. And I think it gives a nice kind of quality back and forth here. And then this one, just a little punch of the glow again, just something a little bit more here. The tree, this is like a little technique. Sometimes when you're taking a photograph, you'll see light shimmering through tree leaves. So I kind of added this little shimmer pop. You can see here it's made up of 3 layers, but I call it tree shimmer, and it's just those little starlight flares coming through the leaves that are kind of nice. Tree here, I wanted to add some bark on it, just some texture. So this is the base image. You got to do some color balance, some hue saturation, and then the curves to get just that right amount. And then a couple other little pops of light. You can see here I added a tree light, a little bit of orange color. These are just some miscellaneous leaf colors that I added, and a little bit more. So that's kind of the added tree detail to the base rendering. The people, a lot of times if you have a light source in front or behind them or to the side of them, you'll see a little shimmer light around the edges of them. So you can see here, I added a little bit of that and then a little pop, so you can see that it just kind of takes it from this to this. I think that just adds a little bit more depth and a hint of realism. Again, these aren't necessarily realistic, but they're adding realistic elements to give an overall effect. Because in this case, I'm selling an idea. I'm selling a story for the rendering, not necessarily showing photorealism, but photorealistic elements in it. Let's see. this, I like to add the hex flare in some of my images. A lot of times you see that in photographs. It just, you know, it's not for everybody. Not everybody likes them, but I kind of like them. Let's see here. The other thing I added too was the sky. I added a couple of stars in the sky in the distance. And here is one effect I really like. I found these paper lanterns online, and you can see they're on screen mode. So if I go back to normal, this is what it was brought in as. And what I didn't like about this is there wasn't enough blending here. So just putting on screen mode adds a little bit of opacity, and almost looks like these things are sort of sitting on that ground, which I really liked. And I liked how it balanced out this curve here with another curve, suggesting that there may be a path kind of leading off in this direction. The other thing too is I didn't like how the tree was sitting on the ground, so I added just a little bit of grass using a grass blade paintbrush, you know, copying this color here just to kind of give that a grounding, the tree a grounding area. I wanted to frame the right-hand side of the image with a lady taking a photograph with her iPhone, so this is kind of her with a shadow, because shadows aren't really gray or black and white, they're colored, and in this case it's a dark blue hue. So that's the base image, and then I added in a highlight with the mask over areas that I didn't want to highlight. So I just revealed those lights that are shining from this direction against her face, you know, her hand here and along her body and this side of her arm. And then of course you have to, the image has an orange feel, so it's an orange hue added. And then I take her, you know, blur a little bit, and then the last was a little, you can see a little pop right here. I wanted the iPhone to kind of just pop a little bit more color here. And all I did there is I took an image of the rendering and then just made it smaller to fit on the iPhone. One of the other techniques I use is I'll take these blurred images and I'll turn this on real quick. And you can see how it just subtly changed the image. And I'll take it on normal here, and it's on 30%. So this is the image originally, and it's just a blurred image. So again, you knock it down to 30%. And I can't even remember what I had that on. It wasn't on multiply. Let me just go back to what did I had it on here. Okay, it was on overlay. So overlay 30%, and it just kind of adds a little bit more depth and contrast to that rendering. I added a vignette, sort of darkened this corner up a little bit. You can see here, kind of darkens that up. And then the last thing I do before the rendering is then I flatten everything. So this is the flattened image, and I add a couple of these. I'll call them, they're from Color Effects Pro, which is a Google-owned set of tools you can use. And I'll turn on the last one, Color Effects Pro. You can see how it kind of brightens everything and adds a little bit more detail. And what that is, I'll kind of enlarge this. This is the toolbar that Color Effects Pro comes with, and I use Vivenza here, which I'll kind of turn these back off. This is the Vivenza, and this is really subtle, so I'll turn that off and then back on. And it's not much, but it just gives a little bit more. And sometimes I'll use the Silver Effects Pro, and it basically gives a black and white image. So let me turn this, it's on luminosity, turn it up to 100. So it's literally a black and white image that I've taken down to 20% and then set the blending mode on luminosity. And all that does is add a little bit of contrast. You can see that on and off, which I really like. And then again, the Color Effects Pro is the last one, and this one it's really nice. It's got a detail enhancer, it's got levels and curves. I mean, it gives you a lot of control over the image that I really like. And you see this with other renderers kind of use this technique, and it's basically an enhancement of Photoshop. You can do all this stuff in Photoshop, but it's kind of like a shortcut, you know, and it really makes the renderings pop. So again, I'll kind of turn off all these layers one more time and show you the before and after of what I was able to do with this rendering. So this was the original rendering, and then this was the final rendering. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope to be uploading a few more of these in the future, and let me know what you think.